LeBron James is entering his 20th season in the NBA and is unquestionably performing at a level that we've never seen from a player 2 decades deep into their career. He already has all kinds of accolades and all kinds of records, but this season, he'll be going for arguably the most famous one, the NBA's all-time scoring record. Although I don't agree with the narrative that LeBron is a pass-first player, you have to admit the fact that he'll almost certainly finish this season as not only the all-time leading scorer, but also in the top 5 of the all-time assists list is nothing short of remarkable. As things currently stand, James is trailing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar by 1,325 points. Over the last 4 seasons, LeBron is playing an average of 55 regular season games, and he's averaging 1,506 points in those seasons. So even if LeBron has a season slightly below his recent averages, he'll still be breaking Kareem's all-time scoring record. And let's be honest, we all expect LeBron to be gunning for it this season. In the history of LeBron's career, he's never scored less than 1,300 points in an 82-game season, so achieving the scoring record this season seems like it's basically a lock to happen. So the question then becomes, what exactly does this mean for LeBron's legacy? How does it change his ranking in several different categories? Well, today, I'll do my best to answer that as I do my best to give an unbiased assessment of the Kings' all-time status. Let's start by looking at the first of 4 questions, and that's if LeBron is the greatest scorer of all time. He certainly has consistency on his side, as LeBron has averaged at least 25 points per game in the last 18 straight seasons. With that being said, peak scoring is not really in his favor, as LeBron only has 1 scoring title to his name compared to Michael Jordan's 10 and Wilt Chamberlain's 7. LeBron is now higher than both Jordan and Chamberlain on the all-time scoring list, but before you proclaim him a better scorer for that, consider this. I would not call Vince Carter a better scorer than guys like Kevin Durant, Jerry West, Allen Iverson, Dwayne Wade, Elgin Baylor, George Gervin, Larry Bird, and Steph Curry. But the reality is, as things currently stand, Vince Carter is ahead of all of those guys on the NBA's all-time scoring list. The reason for this is obvious. It's because of Carter's longevity. With more seasons played, he was able to accumulate more points than these other scoring legends. But in their heyday, there was no question that most of these guys were more capable and explosive scorers than Carter. The same is true for Paul Pierce, who is even a few spots ahead of Vinsanity. For goodness sake, even someone like Jason Terry finished with more points than guys like Isaiah Thomas, Tracy McGrady, and Julius Erving. But the point of this isn't simply to take a dump on longevity, but rather that longevity and being the greatest scorer are 2 completely separate things. After all, very few people were calling Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the greatest scorer of all time, even though he's the game's all-time leader. But now, suddenly when LeBron is taking that mantle, many of his fans want to call him the greatest scorer. To be honest, the bias is almost unbearable at times. LeBron playing at a superstar level for 20 straight seasons is something that I can confidently say no other player has ever done before. That doesn't make him the greatest scorer ever in my opinion, but it might just make him the most athletically gifted player to ever live. This consistent, durable greatness is a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing that deserves its own impressive title. I would personally just make sure it's the correct title. So maybe he's not the game's greatest scorer, but does this now make him the greatest player of all time? Well, it depends on how you look at it. In my personal opinion, LeBron is not suddenly the GOAT because of this achievement, because like the greatest scorer discussion, peak performance is something that matters greatly to my rankings. And in that case, Jordan still has a solid edge on LeBron. MJ has more championships, more finals MVPs, more MVPs, more scoring titles, and more all-defense team selections in significantly less time. When it comes to peak performance, LeBron doesn't even threaten Jordan. But with that being said, when you look at the overall numbers and the complete totality of LeBron's long-lasting career, there is an argument to be made that he's had the greatest career of all time. He's about to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, and he could finish as high as 3rd on the NBA's all-time assists list. Talk about being a dual threat. He's already the game's all-time leading playoff scorer, and it's not even close. Along with that, he'll finish his career with around 20 All-NBA selections and 20 All-Star selections, which would both be the most of all time. Again, in my opinion, this gives LeBron a solid argument for the greatest career of all time, but it doesn't make him my greatest player. If that sounds crazy, look at how consistent this logic remains when we look at sports as a whole. In the NFL, it's usually guys like Jim Brown, Walter Payton, and Barry Sanders who are recognized as the greatest running backs in NFL history. Yet it's Emmitt Smith who is the all-time leader in both rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Several baseball players have higher career totals, but it's Babe Ruth who's most often seen as the greatest baseball player of all time. You could continue these examples into many other sports and positions, but again, this is just my way of looking at it. If you think the greatest career and the greatest player are interchangeable, then I can't fault you for having that position. That's just not the lens in which I view it. Longevity, although impressive, is something that is becoming more common across all sports. The modern athlete has advantages that players didn't have from previous generations, like modern medicine, modern technology, and advanced training methods. Tennis players used to be considered dinosaurs at the age of 30, but now many of the modern great ones are pushing their early 40s. Same goes for NFL quarterbacks and running backs like Tom Brady and Frank Gore. For the first 65 seasons of the NBA, only a total of 3 players had a career as long as 20 seasons. But in the last decade alone, 8 players have reached that total, and at a rate which is rapidly increasing. Longevity and consistency are obviously LeBron's greatest strengths, which are extremely commendable, but let's also not act like he's the only modern athlete doing it. Now, one other way of looking at this is the question of, is LeBron now the greatest athlete in NBA history? With the all-time scoring record and 2 decades straight of elite basketball, I honestly say that he is. LeBron is around 6'9" and 250 pounds. He's built like a tank, and he sprints like a cheetah and jumps like a rabbit. There's been other freakishly gifted athletes, like Wilt Chamberlain for example, who had incredible feats of speed and strength. But Wilt was also nowhere close to LeBron's longevity and was extremely more injury prone than James ever was. When you look at the combination of speed, strength, leaping ability, durability, and longevity, I believe LeBron James has firmly grasped the title of the greatest athlete in NBA history. So now it's your turn. Now that LeBron James is becoming the all-time leading scorer, what does this do for his legacy? Is he the greatest scorer? Is he the greatest player? Does he have the greatest career? And is he the greatest athlete? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.